Hello everybody and welcome back to the Red Path. My name is Jamie and I'm going to be talking to you today about one of our detachments from the new World Eaters 10th edition Codex, and we're going to start by discussing the Goretrack Onslaught, and we're going to start by discussing the Goretrack Slaughter, and we're going to discuss the Party Bus 8888. Now, we are going to discuss the Goretrack Onslaught. Okay. So we're going to start off by talking about the basic overview of the army. We're going to look at the detachment rule, stratagems and enhancements, and I'll give my thoughts on what I think are the best. Now, I'm going to caveat this video. Generally, we do focus on the more competitive side of things here at the Red Path, of course. We do touch other areas of the game, but that is our general focus, and depending on when this video drops, you may have already seen videos from Brian and Dara, and I'm sure there was some very valuable and, you know, high-level tactics going on there. I've been out of the competitive scene for a few months, had an RTT a couple months ago, but not much. Haven't had much time for games this year. Whilst I'm incredibly excited to really throw down on the table, I'm a little bit rusty. So I'm more exclusively looking at fun. I will give what I think is some decent, you know, advice based on experience and things, but this detachment for me is interesting. It's probably my personal favorite detachment just because of what it does, but in itself that might be what makes it maybe not as competitive as I originally thought in our detachment tier ranking video put out last week. The reason I say that, and this is leading into the kind of first stage of the video here, where we're going to talk about the detachment rule, which is when a infantry model or infantry unit disembarks from a transport, which will be your Rhino or your Land Raider, it gains a lance and +1 to charge, which is incredible. It's a really good rule. It's, you know, it's kind of got that old sort of Dark Eldar, Sky Splinter, I think, vibe, but it does marry nicely with kind of the vibe of World Eaters, especially from older editions, the Rhino Rush kind of strategy, right? And the armored assault vibe that you get, just throwing rhinos up the board, makes your Land Raiders, which are definitely good in this codex, slightly better because they have an additional role. But it does, combined with the stratagems, make the way you compose your army a little bit difficult, because the stratagems tend to favor the vehicle side of the army, whereas the detachment rule is definitely absolutely favoring your infantry, mostly your berserkers, but your jackals, your 8-bound and stuff, they do benefit from this as well. So it's a very good detachment rule, but you have to include some measure of infantry to benefit from that, and of course you have to include some transports as well. If we had a more diverse selection of transports, if Forge World was still a thing, RIP, then it would be even better. Can you imagine having the Charybdis, the Dreadclaw, the Drill, Spartan, all these other options we used to have? We don't have them anymore. So we're kind of confined, and it does restrict our list building a little bit. But overall, it is a very good detachment rule, and it, aside from the way the army works, you have to build in a very specific direction. We'll get into that, but I do really like it. So let's look at the enhancements first. There's 4 of them. There's Unleash Hell, which is my personal favorite. This allows an infantry character to wear it, and when they're inside, or actually it's not even infantry, it's just a character that can bear it, inside or nearby a vehicle, that vehicle shoots something and it becomes suppressed, basically. It's more or less the same as the Predator rule, except this is a 10-point enhancement that turns pretty much any vehicle into having that suppression rule, which is great. It's probably my favorite enhancement in the book. Not necessarily the strongest by any means, but it's very good because it adds a layer of defense that we've lost, where we lost our Feel No Pain and like the Demon Prince or with Invuln and the little things like that. Turning a unit, giving it -1, whether it's a big shooting platform on the other side of the table, whether it's a warden brick or something, whatever it is, making it -1 to hit, both in shooting and combat, very powerful. So I think that's an auto take in this list because you're definitely going to be running transports with characters inside. Next, we've got aggressive deployment, which is the something character wears, and it allows the rhino they're in to scout, which is great. It's a 9-inch scout, and it'll only work on a rhino, so you can only put it on a Mo, but it is quite powerful, and as we'll see a little bit later in the video why I think that is. It is shenanigans, and whilst we still have scout for 8-bound, spawn, things like that, we don't have the Invocatus, casting of scout anymore. So we lost a little bit of that, which I'm okay with. Having this one unit that can traipse up the board and just, it offers some destabilization to your opponent's thinking. It's like, because it's going to probably be full of berserkers, and they're thinking, man, these guys can now rocket straight up the board to me. What do we do? So, and we'll go into that later. Then we've got Infernal Infusion, which is fight first. It's 25 points, but it turns Mo back into Mo. I still value the Master of Executions a lot. I think he's awesome at 60 points. But giving him, this is, I believe, the only way we have access to fight first. Giving him that, attaching him to the Berserkers, is very powerful in a combination I'll discuss later. Then finally, we've got Murderous Onslaught, 5-point enhancement, and you just can't overwatch the unit that's got it. It's good. I think it's more often than not only going to be in there because of points. I think in most lists you'll probably be picking Unleash Hell and possibly Infernal Infusion, maybe Aggressive Deployment if you're running a Rhino with Berserkers in it. Onslaught's fine. All 4 of these are good to very good enhancements. Let's quickly talk on the stratagems, and one good thing about this is all our stratagems in this are 1 CP, which is wonderful. Especially if you've got Masters of Execution and or Demon Prince in your list, Foot Demon Prince, because you're getting that extra either gaining a CP from killing a character or reducing the cost of CP. So this is a very economic detachment. I'll list these in probably order of effectiveness. Personal opinion maybe, but I think there are some clear winners and none of them are losers, but less powerful or less commonly used. So the first one is Smash Through. Wonderful. I've been begging for this ability for years. It's the ability to move the vehicle through walls in the movement phase. Absolutely, just making sure normal or advanced move here. So you can move horizontally through terrain. It transforms the identity of the list that you'll be running, whether it's Hellbrutes, Mauler Fiends, a Land Raider, which I will talk about in a little while. Lord of Skulls gets this anyway. Hellbrutes, though, with this, like a rapid ingress Hellbrute, just hidden, nice and impossible to be shot. Next turn, he's got a straight shot to wherever he wants to go. It's an amazing stratagem. Then we've got Unrelenting Advance, which is the 6-inch reactive move for a World Eater's vehicle. Surprisingly or unsurprisingly, the first 2 here are ones that can go on any vehicle. They're not just restricted to rhinos, which 3 of the strats are. But of the 3 strats that can go on any vehicle keyword, or I believe it's any vehicle, it might be transport for one of them. But Unrelenting Advance, let me read it, to be fair. It's in your opponent's shooting phase, so it can't apply to Overwatch or anything like that. And it's a vehicle. And it has to have been hit. It can make a normal move of up to 6 inches, so any direction hasn't got to be towards the closest or anything like that. You can't use it with Fury Unleashed in the same phase, but that's fine. So again, reactive move in the army, and especially in this detachment, is quite prevalent, like the Blood Surge, the Rhino special rule and stuff like that. Then we've got Endless Pursuit of Violence, which is you're allowed to re-embark on a transport. Again, excellent. This might be sort of biased by the combos I'm going to discuss later, but I think that is just such a strong stratagem to have access to, especially for us where we want to jump out, we want to use that lance, we want to mince something to pieces, and then have a sort of measure of safety back in a transport vehicle. Then we've got Full Throttle Assault, which gives the Rhino assault ramp, essentially. Very good, very useful. Then we've got Fury Unleashed, which is the blood surge out of a Rhino. If a Rhino takes damage, but it's still got at least one wound, still exists basically, you can just blood surge, or you just disembark into combat. Let's just read that one to be accurate. So one Khorne, and it only applies to Berserkers. So one Berserker's unit embarked within your model can disembark and make a blood surge move. So yeah, so you disembark, so you've got your 3 inches disembark, and then you blood surge, so you've got d6 plus 2. So that's a pretty decent amount of movement. You're getting 5 plus d6 for a minimum of 6 inches out, potentially into combat. And then finally, Aggressive Disembarkation, which is this is where you can disembark 6 and be straight into combat. It's good, and it will be used. It's just, I don't think, as critical as many of the other stratagems. So anyway, those are our kind of core rules for this detachment, and in an order that I believe is, you know, a rough aggregate of their strength. Next, let's look at what I think are the key units for this list, for this detachment. What I think most, if not all, Goretrack, what is it called? Goretrack Onslaught. I'm so bad for this. Goretrack Onslaught lists are going to have. You're going to have Rhinos and or Land Raiders. You've got to fully utilize the strength of the detachment. You need at least one of these models. I think you may see fairly commonly 2 Rhinos and a Land Raider, or 1-on-1. I think both is probably quite common. I know the list posted on Warcom had 3 Rhinos and 3 bricks of Berserkers, maybe it's 4. I don't know that that's necessarily strong, although it was Siegler that posted it, so I don't know. He's better at the game than I am, but I don't think that's the strongest way to run this detachment. I think it's a fun way. I think it's a good way. I just don't think it's the optimal way, in my opinion. But you'll definitely want those transport vehicles. You'll probably want at least one squad of 10 Berserkers. In my opinion, you want to mow with the fight first. I think gaining access to this critical anti-combat tech is too good to pass up. Gaining Lance for the charge, you know, you disembark, you gain Lance and +1 to charge. The mow's still good. Your Berserkers are not as strong as they are in Berserker Warband, just because of the extra buffs, like the extra AP you can give them and stuff. Val, maybe, because they get +1 AP as well and +1 strength. But Lance is the best strength buff, because you're like in Berserker Warband, Berserkers are still going to wound a T12, T13 model on 6s. Here you will wound everything on the game on 5s or better. There's probably some niche situations where Berserker Warband's better, but for the wounding part of the game, definitely better. And then you've got the Mo, who's just going to, you know, precision out characters for you. So it's a great combo there. And then I think, weirdly, although I'm not going to give an example of it, something like Hellbrutes or Mauler Fiends, that combat vehicle that you can just kind of hide, and then just on your go turn when you're ready, or even as kind of like a Hellbrutes can be not quite a skirmish unit or a trade piece, but they're right there. You know, you don't feel too bad at 120 points. One of these boys just charging through the walls, getting into combat from where your opponent thought they were relatively safe, could be backbreaking. Remains to be seen. There's going to be, you know, you're always going to want your squad of Jackals. You're definitely going to want your squad of Goremongers in here, a couple of squads of Spawn, at least one squad of 8-bound, probably 2 or 3. I won't say you may consider one 6-man 8-bound, but I think ultimately you've got those core transports. You'll want some fire support, because Because you're using transports, your stratagems are going to be focused on them. So you're reducing your lethality from the stratagem side of it. So having that extra fire support, whether it's Forge Fiends, Predators even really, just gives you sort of more balanced, rounded army. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some combos, and we're going to transition. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some combos you can pull off with this army. So you'll see up on the screen we've got some Tabletop Simulator going on. You just see a little rhino here. We'll just go over, there's some Emperor's Children stuff going on over here. So inside this rhino, we have 10 Khorne Berserkers. Then we've got 2 Masters of Execution. This guy is the fight first guy, so he'll be attached to the Berserkers. And then over here, we've got the guy with the Scout enhancement. So all of these are inside the rhino. So that means, you know, let's say we're going first, just for the example of this video. This rhino in the Scout part, to start the battle, will get to scout 9 inches up the table. So here we go, getting about 9 inches, there we go. And we're going first. So now he's going to move his 12 inches. Well, before he does that, the boys are going to jump out, of course. So we put up our 3-inch aura there. Just going to be rough for the purposes of this. Stick in there. So the Berserkers jump out, and they're going to move their 8 inches. And of course, they've scouted 9 and they've disembarked 3. So they should be literally on the halfway line here, which they more or less are. Obviously, I missed a little something here. But they're going to move their 8 inches, and we're going to go over here in this direction. Doesn't matter if it falls, is fine, and then he'll. Well, that's fine. We'll put them here. So they've moved their 8 inches. Yep, and they've got a 5-inch charge onto these tormentors over here. Then the rhino, he's going to move over his 12 inches. Come over about here. Oh, don't want to cheat. There we go. So there we go. So we're now in position. We do some shooting. Rest of the battlefield doesn't matter. We're going to perform our charge here. So what we're going to do is we're going to charge the rhino in first, and we needed a 5, I believe. Let's just double check. Yep. And you know, hopefully we roll like a 7 or something. So go over here. We just kind of want him over here. Then these guys, they've got +1 to charge, and they've got lance as well, because they did disembark from a rhino this turn, from a transport. So we needed a 5, doesn't really matter what we get. Yeah, we'll just shove everyone up. This isn't going to be exact, because you kind of should know what's going on here. It's unlikely these Noise Marines are going to heroic, so we're not super worried about that. What's important is 10 Berserkers and the Mo are going to wipe most things on the front line. There's obviously going to be a few things they can't one-shot, but you won't be going for them. So they're gonna get rid of that. And hopefully I did this right, because now we're going to spend the CP we've got and re-embark these guys into the rhino. This rhino is now here. It's got 10 Berserkers and a Mo in it, and we've taken out whether it's a screen, doesn't really matter, but some tormentors. Free money. Absolutely cool. And you know, with our shooting and stuff, we've probably, you know, picked off a couple of other guys that were floating around, and then it goes to the opponent's turn. So here's the thing, you do need to do this right, but let's just, you know, bring out our opponent here. Let's Emperor's Children, they move fast, doesn't really matter, we're going to do that. So we have a stratagem to surge out, Fury Unleashed. So our opponent needs to one-shot this rhino. Now, obviously, many armies are going to have that ability, but not all of them. So our opponent's like, man, maybe Noise Marines can one-shot the rhino? Who knows? Let's say they do a decent amount of damage. They take mine down to 3. Now I'll spend the CP I gained on this turn. And these boys are going to surge out. Ooh, camera work keep working. So they're just going to disembark, surge out. And we've got the fight first Mo. It's their turn. We've got a wounded rhino and a full squad of Berserkers and Mo who've just surged. Obviously they'd only surge into 1 unit there, but you get the picture. We'd be able to pile in. Sure, they can charge us, that's fine. We fight first, we've got Mo. So yeah, so that's the first strategy I wanted to talk about, little combo. It's kind of fun. It can really ruin your opponent's day, having that kind of mess. Not only is it bad to have 10 Berserkers or Mo in your lines straight away, with them being able to get into a Rhino before you can actually hurt them, and you have to one-shot that Rhino or they do that kind of shenanigan, yeah, that's going to ruin some people's days. The next combo I want to talk about is very similar, and it's from a list I'm going to talk about in a little while. So it's got a Land Raider, and we've got 3 Slaughterbound. One of them has the no Overwatch enhancement. Then we've got 3 Masters of Executions. One of them has Unleash Hell, which is great. And then we've got Khorne. It's not a super expensive package. It's pretty tasty. These 7 guys are inside your Land Raider. Okay, your Land Raider just deploys somewhere, fairly safe. Doesn't really matter. So the game goes on, maybe turn 1, you kind of do something like this. And you've got, well, it wouldn't be there. Let's put them somewhere a bit more sensible. So turn 1, you deploy it like that. Turn 2, you kind of come maybe over here. So you can get a little bit of line of sight in this direction. You're kind of covering that objective there. There's enemy Rhino or something. You shoot it. Well, they retaliate. So, they stick some Noise Marines, they shoot it. It's a Land Raider. It's much tougher to one-shot a Land Raider than it is a Rhino. With the 2 up in cover, being T12, 16 wounds. That's a tough little boy. So it's unlikely to get one-shotted. And then what you do is you spend a CP and you just 6-inch, you move it like here or something. Now it can't be shot at all. Okay, great. Land Raiders still alive. They've kind of mispositioned their stuff. Next turn, let's develop their forces a bit. Let's pretend they have actually come out and they're doing something. I'm not an Emperor's Children player, so God knows how they actually would do this sort of stuff. But we're just going to bring them out, okay? Yeah, we'll bring him out as well, whatever. So the Land Raider, I don't know, we'd probably put him here. He moves 10, I believe, in the Codex. And we're going to spend Smash Through. And, we'd go something like this. So our Land Raider's now here. Land Raider has Assault Ramp naturally. So what's going to happen here is we are going to disembark this guy. We'll just send everyone out. Why wouldn't you? It doesn't matter. Like, we are now sending some of the best post-combat units quite efficiently as well, because the Mo's are 60 points, Slaughterbound are 85, Khorne is 85, a couple of little enhancements on there. That's 7 models versus a lot. But all of these guys are going to make combat. Okay, we know they are. Like, obviously you would do this a lot more optimally. You don't have to put everyone out. Doesn't matter. But we are. I'm sorry, that's dead. What are these? These are just Marines. So 1 Mo just wipes them. Second Mo gets to go in, do some decent damage on the Demon Prince. Probably doesn't kill him, but does decent damage. And then, yeah, Khorne kills the Noise Marines, no problem there. Then this guy piles in and finishes the Demon Prince. And, okay, so next turn, yeah, like dead. And then he's back. These guys are probably safe. They can just jump back in the Land Raider. Got Land Raider here. He probably charged in as well, to be quite honest. This little play, it's I don't know. I really like it. Okay, finally we're going to talk about a couple of lists. I don't know, like I said at the intro to this video, if these are going to be, certainly the first list I talk about is truly a really good competitive idea, but I think it's very early in the day to kind of make these rash decisions on what's the best and worst within the detachments. But I think this list here I'm going to read out, and it'll be on the screen, will have the basic parts. So we're going to start off with a Slaughterbound. He's going to have Unleash Hell, which is what allows him to use suppression in a vehicle. Then we're going to have 2 Masters of Execution, 1 with Infernal Infusion, and 1 with Aggressive Deployment. So this is the Scout Mo and the Fight First Mo. We've just seen the point, right? We've got 10 Berserkers, Then we have a squad of Jackals and a squad of Goremongers. We have a 6-man 8-bound, 3-man 8-bound, and a 3-man Exalted 8-bound. We have a Rhino. We have 2 units of 2 Spawn, 2 Forge Fiends with Plasma, and a Land Raider. So it's a pretty good sort of combined arms, take all comers kind of list. It does have, let me just tell you here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15 units, with obviously the options for some bodyguards there. One of the Moes will definitely go with the Berserkers most of the time. Then the Slaughterbound is there. He sits in the Land Raider and gives it the ability to suppress, but he's also there to either lead the 6-man 8-bound if he was going up against a Knight Titan or something that is very, very hard to crack, and there's not many units in the game where you would need that, but there may be a few. He can go by himself, of course. It's just another little trade piece. He can go with the 3-man 8-bound if you feel like you need that. If there's maybe you're playing against War Dogs or something like that, you just want that one unit that's much more certain to crack one in one go. And then he can go with the Exalted 8-bound for when you against Rogal Dawns or something like that. You need something that's probably going to do enough damage in one round of combat to kill a vehicle. Goremongers are there to protect your scout. So the Rhino Scout, as you saw earlier, is kind of critical to this, at least critical as an option. You don't have to use it that way, but just having that kind of threat, and the Goremongers protect that. So even if you deploy second, and your opponent puts like 6 Nurglings or something in the center of the build, there will be a space for you to protect your own scouts. Makes it a bit more difficult if you've got a good opponent, but the option's still there. Your Jackals, obviously, they're too sticky. Rhino, we've discussed. Spawn are just great skirmish pieces, just great units anyway. The Forge Fiends and the Land Raider. Land Raider has the dual role of being able to ferry your 8-bound around. Could put the Berserkers in there if you wanted, but then you're sticking Goremongers or Jackals in a Rhino, which you don't want to do. I suppose you've got the Scout though, so but typically it's going to be containing regular 8-bound. Your 3-man Exalted's probably going to be in Deep Strike. It's just another way to kind of control your opponent's ability to deploy without you, whilst you kind of like impact that. And then the Forge Fiends, great fire support. So you've got a solid gun line in here with the Forge Fiends and the Land Raider. You can threaten vehicles, threaten chaff, you can threaten Marines. You've got your bases covered. You've got your early push with the Rhino and the Spawn, and potentially 8-bound to scale up if that feels like something you need to do. You've got your sticky objective, you've got your infiltrate, and you've got that kind of really good way to mess with your opponent's head with that Berserker play that we discussed. The second list is going on to the shenanigans with the 7 characters inside the Land Raider. This is the list I'm going to be playing at first. So of course you start off with Khorne. You have your 3 Slaughterbound. You have a Demon Prince, and you have 3 Masters of Execution. You then have a squad of 3 8-bound, a squad of 3 Exalted 8-bound, Goremongers and Jackals, 3 units of Spawn, 2 Forge Fiends, and a Land Raider. So you can see I'm trading the Berserker Bomb and the access to the Rhino, as well as some of the 8-bound bodies for that potentially brutal strike, throwing that Land Raider through terrain, and then just puking out very good trade-up characters. Like the Mo at 60 points easily takes 60 points of Marines with him, or Marine-like stuff. There's probably not a 5-man in the game. Okay, like he does only get 5 attacks in Goretrack. So you also got to think you've probably got sustained up. Maybe you've got Dev Wounds up as well. You should be getting close to killing the 5-mans. Dice can spike, but you're probably throwing him more like characters or bodyguard units for that reroll trigger. Slaughterband, if you probably want to use them in their Super Saiyan mode straight away, just to make sure you use that ability and just wipe units out. But yeah, so those are a couple of ideas. They're just two different directions around the same core of a list that you can take. This detachment, again, I think it's a very strong detachment. I think it will suffer against better opponents who can plan for and foresee the shenanigans you can do, because this is very janky and almost gotcha. Like, it does have that vibe to it, which is again why I've pulled back on my opinion of how strong this is. The amount of reactive moves and blood surge type mechanics you can do with this, going through walls, it's like you're going to constantly be reminding your opponent, it feels like you should be constantly reminding your opponent on how your army functions, which can then just guide them into, oh yeah, I'll just make sure I don't go there. So I think maybe the fun you can get from this will be limited. It just depends on the circle of people you play with. But yeah, anyway, that's the end of this video. Hopefully it was somewhat informative. Hopefully you kind of have an idea of where you want to take this detachment if it's one you're interested in. Drop us a comment below, let us know if you're enjoying the content we're putting out. Let me know how wrong I was with this, why I shouldn't just bring 3 Lords of Skulls. I can have my arm twisted on that sort of thing. But yeah, again, thank you for all the support you've all been giving us over the last month or so since the kind of World Eaters Codex has been taken off. We are absolutely having a blast creating this content and dumping all this stuff out there for you, and hopefully you're enjoying it too. If you'd like to support us, of course, we've got the Patreon and all that bullshit. No one cares, whatever. Until the next time, folks, stay healthy, stay safe, and kill, maim, burn.